Anyone who watches Peppa Pig knows the show is quite entertaining.
Ooh.
But did you notice the little animation mistakes in the episodes?
Take a big breath in.
For example, in the episode where Peppa Pig invites her best friend, Susie Sheep, over to play, we see them taking various toys out of a basket and scattering them on the floor of Peppa's room. George wants to join the fun, but his sister kind of excludes him. After this scene, we return to the same spot and notice that the little horn that was next to the green notebook on the floor has disappeared. Then we see it magically on the other side of the room. And that's not all. When the girls take the toys out of the basket, one of the first is a Jack-in-the-Box, which even opens up when they take it out. However, after talking to George shortly after, we can see that the toy is no longer on the floor of the room. But unlike the horn, we don't see it again right after. This gives me the slight impression that the people animating Peppa were a bit too lazy to put the toy back in the scene, don't you think? Check out all the mistakes we found now! Now moving on to the episode where Peppa visits Molly Mole's house, which is underground beneath Rebecca Rabbit's house, everyone arrives in Molly's room. When they get there, we notice several things inside, like a toolbox, a ladder, and some things on the wall, like a drawing of 2 flowers right above the ladder. The detail is that in the next scene, we see that the flower drawing is no longer above the ladder, but beside it.
That's crazy.
Furthermore, after Daddy Pig arrives to pick up Peppa and enters the Mole family's house, he goes to the same room of Molly, and we see that this time nothing has changed places. But something completely new appears, another picture on the wall that wasn't there before. Returning to the episode of the disappearing toys we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we notice some other cool mistakes that happen throughout the cartoon. When Susie and Peppa are near the toy basket, right at the beginning of the episode, we can see that on the wall behind them, there are 2 dinosaur drawings made probably by George. However, shortly after, when we see the 2 girls again lying on the floor having fun, we see that the drawings on the wall are no longer there. And a little later, when George comes down to eat the cookie dough his mom made, he hears the girls having fun. Then we see the 2 again, but this time we see that there is a drawing on the wall again. However, this time it's not the dinosaur drawings that were there before, but a drawing of an elephant and a sun. The most interesting thing is that this drawing appeared earlier in the cartoon, but it was next to Peppa and George's bunk bed. So this time, the drawing just magically changed places. In the Peppa episode where we visit the Children's Leisure Center where all the toys are very cute, we notice some very interesting details too. In one of the scenes, we see Edmund Elephant jumping on a rubber cushion. Notice that below him are colorful dice, and 2 of them are orange. However, besides being orange, they are also completely identical, even having the same letters H and E on one side and the number 3 on another side of the dice. It's kind of like the show decided to copy and paste the item in the scene. I know you love to play, so check out this awesome Sonic toy for you to have fun with. Click the link in the first pinned comment and take it home. In the same episode, when Richard Rabbit passes by another toy with 2 foam cylinders, we see that beside him there are several other dice, and the nearest one is a red die with the letters J and C and the number 5. And later, when we see a wider shot, we see that next to this red die is another one with the letter F and the number 4. But when the children refuse to leave and Mrs. Rabbit enters the toy to try to get the children out, Mummy Pig goes in to help and ends up getting stuck in the same toy. We notice that only the die with the F is there next to Mummy Pig, and the die with the other letters has disappeared.
But that's simply not possible.
And right after, when we see Mummy Pig still stuck with Mrs. Rabbit, we notice that the die is now much further away from Peppa's mom. In one of the funniest episodes of Peppa Pig, we find something that doesn't make much sense. When Dr. Bear is giving safety instructions and tells everyone to watch where they step, he trips over a ball and rolls down the hill, falling into several prickly plants. Notice when this hilarious scene happens, the ambulance is completely closed. Right after we see Dr. Bear landing comfortably on an apple tree with apples falling on his head, we see the kids and Madame Gazelle. And note that now the driver's door of the ambulance is open, but it wasn't before. Who opened that door? Since everyone was watching Dr. Bear fall down the hill. We have no idea. Immediately afterward, we see Madame Gazelle and the children getting into the ambulance to help the poor doctor who is completely injured. The teacher enters through the driver's door and the kids enter through the back doors. We see that at the back doors are Peppa Pig and Molly Mole on either side. The detail is that when the ambulance arrives at the apple tree where Dr. Bear is, we notice that Peppa is still there, but on the other side, and where Peppa was before, now stands Rebecca Rabbit and Molly is nowhere to be seen. Besides that, Madame Gazelle, who should exit through the driver's door, ends up appearing on the other side of the ambulance without any logical explanation. What many people probably didn't notice is a logical error in the cartoon.
This was a mistake!
Now moving on to the episode where Daddy Pig, being the good engineer he is, teaches the kids how to make their own mud puddles. After all, that's the dream of every child in Peppa's world. When we see this moment, note that the little pink pig is very close to George, Candy, and Susie. But in the very next scene, we see that Peppa is far away from the other kids, as if by magic. In this same episode, moving a bit forward, Daddy Pig shows how the concrete works that he and his team are using to build the new playground for the school kids. In this scene, we see the kids watching attentively, and George is beside his older sister. After Daddy Pig has the not-so-brilliant idea of stepping into the concrete, Edmund Elephant answers a question about how the concrete will harden quickly. At this moment, we see that George simply disappears from beside Peppa. So you might be wondering, did he fall into the concrete? Thankfully not, because right after, he reappears next to the show's protagonist, although a little further ahead than he was before. This time I have to admit, George gave me a scare. Returning to the episode of the Children's Leisure Center, when Daddy Pig, Peppa, and Susie arrive at the place and see Mummy Pig still stuck in the toys, note that there are 3 balloons above the characters, on the ceiling. And when the scene switches back to Daddy Pig and the girls, we see that now besides the balloons on the ceiling, other balloons are beside the group that weren't there before, and appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, we also notice that behind Daddy Pig, where there was nothing before, now there is a yellow ball. This indicates that this was a new item placed in the scene, another little mistake. Did the animators do this on purpose in this episode? If you really love cartoons, we have some incredible news for you. We've launched a new quiz channel. In it, we'll test our knowledge about our favorite cartoons and movies like Bluey, Peppa Pig, and many others. It will be a journey full of challenges, laughter, and lots of fun with Wavy. Don't waste any time. Subscribe now at the link in the description or point your camera at the QR code on the screen and start playing. I'll see you there. It's already noticeable that things tend to appear and disappear in Peppa's cartoon, but one instance left me a bit puzzled. It happens in the episode Police Station, where we see the Pig family going to the police to try to find George's toy dinosaur. Notice that on the desk there is a box containing 2 sweet donuts. The 2 police officers approach the little pig to take down the details of the toy. Then they go to the station's storage room, and we notice that both the box and the donuts have disappeared. Did Daddy Pig kidnap and devour the 2 donuts while no one was looking?
We need a car!
Moving on to the moment when we see Daddy Pig going to the attic to get a drawing of a dragon that the kid's father had made when he was a child, notice that beside the boxes with a blue bag on top of them, there is an abstract painting leaning against them with a chest behind. George's dad then finds his old school folder, and we see that first, the chest has disappeared. And then we see that the painting is no longer beside the boxes, but behind Daddy Pig, which certainly doesn't make much sense since Daddy Pig didn't touch the boxes, only his old school bag. This is what I call attic mysteries. In the same episode, the next day, we see the children take Daddy Pig's dragon drawing to school. We see several drawings on the school wall, each with a star on them. Notice that there is a butterfly drawing, a carrot, and a small tractor at the top. And when Madame Gazelle finally gives the star to Daddy Pig many years later, notice that the drawings have changed their order and arrangement. So the tractor drawing is now right below the butterfly, and the carrot drawing has been moved to the side. Despite all these little mistakes in Peppa Pig, I still really enjoy watching the Little Pink Pigs cartoon because it's quite entertaining. And if you want to keep having fun, it's very simple. Just choose one of these videos appearing on the screen for you now, so you can keep watching really good videos that we have selected exclusively for you.